Hey guys, today I wanted to do something a little bit different with you and sit down and do a Q&A. I've had some lovely questions sent in from you guys and I thought it was about time that I started working my way through them and answering some for you, so that is what we're going to get on to today. Now, this question wasn't going to make it into the Q&A because it's only been asked once, but it made me think that maybe some of the people are wondering why I wear these as well. In the last couple of vlogs, especially if I'm like wrapping things or maybe on my Instagram reels, you might see that I'm wearing fingerless gloves inside. And I wear gloves all the time inside during the winter time. And I never used to have to do this. I have really bad circulation. I live in Scotland, it's very cold. And this year especially, I've actually really struggled with chilblains on my fingers. And I think it was because I was sitting, especially my right hand, which is my mouse hand when I'm on the computer, sitting, my hand was quite exposed, sat out. And I don't know if you'll be able to see if I pull my gloves down. I'll maybe do a close-up picture. My hands are horrible and they don't usually look like this, but the weather has really affected them. So they're all pink, they're all swollen, and they're all cracked. The skin's all cracked, and that is chilblains. And so the best way to get rid of that is to stay warm, and that's why I wear fingerless gloves. So yes, I know they're not the most aesthetic, but these are thermal gloves and that's why I wear them. So anyway, that wasn't one of the questions that I was going to do today, but somebody has asked me that. So I thought I'll just clear that up, and that's why. It's because I have really bad circulation. But let's get on to the proper questions and we'll start them now. So the first question that I'm going to answer today has been asked many times in sort of slightly different forms, but it's all asking the similar thing. So question number one is, did you study illustration or digital art at university? I have a handy sheet here which I've printed off of questions if you wonder what I'm looking at. The straight answer is no. I studied neither of those. I actually studied animal biology at university. That is the path that I went down. When I was at school, art and science were both my top subjects, I guess. They're the things that interested me the most. And science, the doors just seemed to be open for me. It made more sense at the time, and that is the route that I went down. I don't totally regret that at all. I have amazing experiences from my time at university. I enjoyed my university course. I passed my university course, which is something for me particularly that I was never sure that I would go to university. So I'm really proud of the fact that I've done that. Just a personal thing of mine. It was a personal goal and I managed to do that. I also got my first, I guess, proper job after university to do with my degree. I worked on a bird breeding programme in conservation, and that is actually what brought me down to the area that I live in now. I also met my partner at university, Mr. B&T. He did the same course as me. If I never went there, I would never have met him. So all those things obviously are positive from me doing that at university, but clearly I have not stuck at that. I have changed my business a lot. This is going way off the path of this now. I've changed my business a lot, but I don't regret that because I wouldn't be where I am now if those things hadn't happened. So that was a very long-winded way of saying no. I didn't study art or illustration at university. Question number two, what design software do you use? For me, I use Photoshop. So I have obviously not doing this at university, or I've not been taught this kind of thing. I've self-taught myself to use different programs. The one I have stuck with is Photoshop. That does everything for me that I need at the moment. Obviously there's lots of different digital art things. I do have an iPad and I do use Procreate sometimes for certain things. That's something very new to me still. I haven't given the time over to learn that properly. It's something that I would like to do in the future. It's always going to be there in the background. I've got it there. But at the moment I am traditional, scanned into digital, and I use Photoshop. Ooh, question number three, how did you get started in your creative business? Now, this could be very long-winded, so I will try and not. Really, like I said, I obviously didn't study this at university, but I have always been a creative person. I've always kind of dabbled in arts and crafts. I've always liked to be a maker, like busy with my hands kind of person. Then I went off to university, I studied, and then when I left university, myself and my partner went travelling, and we travelled for 2 years, just over 2 years. We travelled around mostly Asia and into Australia. I got a job in Australia working for a children's clothing company. I started off helping just in the sort of retail side of things. That was my background, you know, throughout university I worked in retail, so that was my background. And then my sort of creativeness came out and the lady who ran the business at the time, she was amazing. She just sort of threw me in things and said, design something, you know, you can make some products. So sun hats, because we were in Australia, is what I was put on for making, and they sold. And that first initial thing, although obviously it was for somebody else, it was her patterns and her designs, I helped choose fabrics to put them together, and I sewed them up and I made them, and here was a thing I'd made, put on a shop, and it sold. And that to me just ingrained, or maybe lit a fire again, of something so deep rooted in me that it was strange to me that I hadn't known that was there before. I guess I had all along, so I had been creative, but that way of like people actually buy something that you make, like to me that just blew my mind, and that really got me started. So when we left that job and travelled, it was to do with visas, we couldn't stay there very long, we were moving on and we travelled. Throughout our like long drives in Australia, my head was just filled with, how can I make this my path? Like, how can I get on this path and continue something that had given me such a thrill and such a buzz and just felt right within me. So yeah, that's kind of where it all started from. And then when we got home, it was like kind of like a bump down to earth, had to get a job again and build things back up. But I just slowly dabbled in things, and for a long time, it did take me years. Like that, circumstances weren't great when we got back to this country, and it was quite difficult to sort of find our foot just for normal life, let alone changing careers and things. But it was in my head to just chip away and work away at it, and then it flourished into what it is now, with many changes, many different routes throughout the way. Like, this is absolutely not what it started off as. I mentioned children's clothing. I did do that for a while. I also made jewellery at my very beginning stages of the business. And then here I am as selling my art and products now. So yeah, again, don't feel stuck and don't feel like you're pressured to stay in the thing that you're in, because it's so easy to change. You just have to chip away at it a little bit at a time. Oh, number 4 is a good one to move on from that. How did you get started selling your work to shops? Now, obviously I've explained about the Australia shop, but that's not my work. So how I got started selling my own work was a bit of a fluke. And again, it's one of these, like, somebody reached out to me and it just launched me into where I've come now. So way back when we just landed back in this country and we got jobs, and I was sort of dabbling in little things, I was doing craft markets, and that's the only place I had to sell things. I couldn't afford a website at the time, and I had Facebook and things, that's true, I did have Facebook, but I didn't have like an online shop that I could physically sell things to people through. So I went and did markets, and that's where I started off, and I met amazing people who were actually based up in Aberdeen in Scotland at the time. And the sort of creative, crafty art market there was incredible, and it felt like a whole new world that I'd like stumbled upon. I didn't know it was there, and I felt really pleased to be kind of invited in amongst all these amazing people, and I learned so much from them and kind of got to know people. And then so we were in Aberdeen because Chris was doing his master's degree there, and then when we packed up there and moved down this kind of way, I had got my first job, like I said, after university in my field at the time, which was biology, conservation. So we'd moved down here. We had literally got into this house, no furniture, but stuff in boxes everywhere. My art supplies and everything, all my creative things had been packed away because I was away to start this proper job, science job, university-led job. And that's why we were here. So like that, everything else was kind of shut away, packed in boxes. And then I got a message through. And the message was from this lovely lady who I had met through the markets. I knew her daughter was very creative. I'd known her for a while. And then this lady was actually opening her own shop. And she'd reached out to me and asked me if I would like to be a stockist. And that is where it started. Question number 5. Do you work 9 to 5? No, absolutely not. As a creative business owner, I think if anybody is in this kind of space, we have no normal work hours. If you do, hats off to you, that's amazing. I do not. Sometimes I start work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I don't finish work until 11 o'clock at night. I definitely have been trying to get a better work-life balance. It's something I hate that saying, work-life balance. Who has that? And how did you get it? No, I have been trying to cap my work hours, but I've been trying to give myself at least one full day off. Don't turn the computer on, don't answer emails, completely off. And it's easier for me if we go out somewhere, whether that's a big long walk somewhere, a way to visit friends, anything to get me out, because we are sitting in the middle of my house right now. This is where I work, and it's quite difficult to switch off when you live in your work. So I definitely don't work 9 to 5. I am trying to have more workish hours, and then obviously being in the house, if you work from home you might be like this as well, and I've had to put quite strict time limits and quite strict like days of the week where I do housework, and I don't know if anyone else does that. That's how I manage to get by, because otherwise I will just drift off in the middle of the day to go and hoover or put a washing on or things like that. So I'll do things like that in the morning. And then my main cleaning days are the weekend. I'll do one weekend days, like get the house sorted and do most cleaning stuff, to try and stop me doing that during the week so I can just do work things. But again, being in a creative business, no 2 days are the same, let alone weeks. So it does vary massively, and that's okay. Number 6. Oh, this is a good question. What are you most passionate about in your creative business? Oh, well, learning at the moment is a massive passion for me. I think I didn't realise at the beginning of my business how much learning would impact my business, but also how much learning would be continually throughout my life as a business owner. I think if you're not in it and you're seeing someone else have a creative business, in your head it's all like magic and flowers. They just paint all day and they just make things all day or whatever it is. But when you're actually a business, running this as a business, I've been full-time for 6.5 years now, running a creative business. I rarely get time to paint. that is a magical day when I get to paint. But yeah, I think what is the question? What I'm most passionate about, learning for sure is definitely that thing, because I've seen how it drives me forward. But the thing that I'm most excited, and I think the passion is in me, is pattern making. So I've mentioned previously that I've dabbled in like children's clothing and jewellery and crafts and things. And then when I kind of stumbled into what I'm doing now, as a bit of a trial, I just wanted to try this. It was locked down at the time and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to spend my time trying to learn something again or achieve something different, just to busy myself. And I came up across pattern design, and that spark that I spoke about earlier with that designing in the children's clothing shop, that spark and that fire just erupted in me when I made my first pattern. I remember making my first pattern, like my first repeat pattern, and having it match up and having it just become this infinite thing. You could repeat it as many times as you liked. That astounded me that I'd managed to do that myself, and I just all of a sudden felt like where I should belong. Like, this is where I belong. I felt it just felt right. So that passion has not left me, and it's something that I'm now learning myself to pursue in a different way, to allow that to continue, because that is definitely where my passion lies the most, is in pattern design. Oh, number 7, imposter syndrome. Do you get this? And if so, how do you cope? Yes, literally every day of my life. Yeah, imposter syndrome is when you feel like you don't belong in a space. I absolutely don't feel like I belong in a space. I have struggled with that a lot. I really do every day, really do. That's no word of a lie. I'll joke about it and smile about it and things, but I really feel that deeply. It's something that I struggle with all the time. If anybody's ever had that, even for a split second, you know it's horrible. It's a really horrible feeling. I feel it for lots of different reasons. I feel it because I haven't studied this in any academic way. I don't have the years of practice that so many people that I personally know well. I know amazing artists and amazing creative people, and they have put so much of their life into their creative pathway, whichever it is, and I'm right at the beginning of mine. So it's that trying to not compare yourself to others, but I'm just in awe of these people who have such talent because they've put so much of their time in. And I feel I am not able to be next to them. I am very much behind them, and that's okay. And I think the way I get through it is to tell myself that you should never compare yourself, like your first step, to someone else's millionth. Like that's just so silly to do. We all do, it's a natural thing. But to try and not do that, because I'm aware of the time and I'm aware of the effort and I'm aware of the passion that they've all put in to get to where they're at. And so it's one of those things of like, well, if I do the same in something that I'm passionate about, I feel like I found my passion now. Surely by that many stages up, I will be where they were at that stage and things. And again, you're never going to be side by side. Everybody's creative business and flow is different. But yeah, for sure, I feel that all the time. I also really can't turn around and call myself an artist. I don't like that. I don't like using that word to describe myself. It's one of the things that I really struggle with. That sounds really silly, because I'm like, I paint and that's art. And I create things as art that people buy. But I don't like that for myself at the moment. It doesn't sit well with me. I prefer to say that I'm creative, or I'm a pattern designer, or other things, because I've put time into learning that. I don't feel that I'm an artist at the moment. But I'm working on it day by day. And yeah, I just think, one, you're not alone if you feel that. And two, don't compare yourself to others. I know it's really difficult. I do it myself and I have to take my own advice. But that when I feel myself doing that, when I feel myself comparing myself, I just have to take a step back and say, they're so much further on in their path than you are. So that's absolutely great for them to be way over there, but you are not at that stage yet, and that's okay. Try and enjoy the journey where you're at. 8 tips for staying motivated when self-employed. This is a really, really good one. Everybody has peaks and troughs, whether you're self-employed or not, whether you're creative in a creative business or not. You will be motivated some days like nothing on earth, and you'll get like loads of stuff done, and then other days you'll not even get one thing ticked off of your to-do list. If you're like me anyway. My tips, the things that I try and do, and what I've tried to keep going, is I keep a little list. So when I'm feeling motivated and I'm obviously getting through my to-do lists, anything that's quite a small job, I'll give you an example of that. One of mine is folding tissue paper. So for packaging my Etsy orders, especially my wrapping paper, I wrap it in tissue paper, and it's easier to do when the individual sheets are folded, so that I can just take out one sheet at a time, because they're big sheets. So I would say keep a list of small jobs, whether it's like sorting through your pencils or sharpening your pencils if you're a colour pencil drawer. I don't know, cleaning your art supplies, or taking note of maybe art supplies that you need to purchase. Like, are you running low of one colour of paint? You know, I use tube paint, so if one of them's low, I'll make a list. Small little jobs that are not that taxing, that you can maybe do when watching like a YouTube video or something. That is the things to do when you're feeling really demotivated and that you really don't want to do anything. Try and do something like that, because achieving one little job that then helps others actually boosts you more than trying to trudge your way through one job that really you should just leave until you're feeling better. So that is my biggest tip, is keep a little list of kind of simple jobs that like you could just trudge away at when you need to, when you're feeling that motivation slip. Number 9, have you always painted? No and yes. I've always enjoyed art. I've always liked to paint. I'm not the type of person to have hundreds of sketchbooks. I don't have a daily practice. That's something, a weekly practice would be good for me at the moment. I really slip away from it because it's not ingrained in me to do that. But yes, as a child I painted. Yes, throughout college I painted. Yes, at university I would sometimes just for myself and personal use paint. But no, I have never been one of these people that are able to fill sketchbooks upon sketchbooks. I am in awe of people that do that, and I would love to be able to do that. That is one of my main goals. But kind of, so yes and no. I have kind of painted, so from childhood, but not rigorously. Number 10, what's your favourite medium to work with? I work in watercolour. I love that. I love how light it can be, but also how deep you can get different techniques. I'm learning lots about it. I'm also learning to use, and I can't say it properly because I'm Scottish, gouache, paint, the other one. I'm learning to use that because I like how that layers. You can get more intense colour with that as well, so a bit of both, but watercolour is my favourite. Oh, 11. You've mentioned sustainability before. Is it important to you in your business? Yes, 100% yes. Stemming right back to my childhood, I've always been into nature, into preserving things that we have, into gardening, into bird watching, into all those kinds of things. That is obviously what led me to do my animal biology and work in conservation for a little bit. I have had the great privilege of travelling to some beautiful countries, but it's also a wake-up call when you do that to the state of the world. And as much as I loved my time travelling, I have my best experiences and my best memories, a lot of my best memories are from the time that we spent travelling, the people that we met and the places that we went. But there's also like a sadness. So we spent a lot of time in Thailand, and as amazing as that is, if you've never been, you will only see photos of it, and obviously they're only going to show you the best photos. Waterways are clogged with plastic there. The sea is constantly just plastic. When you're scuba diving, you'll find plastic. That was horrible because although we worked in Thailand, although we were working there, we were tourists. We don't live there. That's not where we were born. And it's because of tourism that places like these small islands that we went to, just surrounded by plastic. And yeah, that really boosted in me again that, you know, anything that I do needs to try my best to do something against this, because it's horrible to see. So yes, I'm very involved in things like, well, litter picks. I like doing local litter picks. Unfortunately, outside our house, there's litter. I'm sure the same with you guys. If you have a look, you'll find it. Beach cleans are an important thing for me as well. I support environmental charities with my work. I am through the Butterfly and Toadstool, I support the Butterfly Conservation, the Scottish Wildlife Trust and the Marine Conservation Society. I also trap carbon, so I pay towards a carbon trapping business, which is something that I will share. I'm going to put links to all these below actually because they're really, really useful. These all sorts of things are easy for me to do, and that's why I do them. And I actually think they're quite easy for most people to do. And so it really pains me, and it's something of a massive bugbear of mine, that big companies don't. And so I think it's really important to try and spread the message, especially to creative people, especially to people that want to have their own business. Try at least and do one thing. So all my packaging is recyclable or biodegradable. That is easy. Try and do one thing in your business that reduces your plastic or your waste or something, because it's out there, you can do it, it's easy, please do it. And I think that it would be good if we could all then put big companies to shame and say, we can do it, why can't you? So yes, it's very important to me. Thank you for asking that question. And my last question, because I really yaddered on here, and goodness knows if you've got to this last question, more power to you. Thank you for staying with me. Question number 12 is, do you have a dream product that you'd love to see your illustrations on? And that's a great one to finish with, because yes, of course I do. Clothing is one thing. I would love to collaborate with a company to have my patterns on clothing. I would absolutely love that. Anybody that's watching this that could make that happen, please get in touch. I would love to do that, but I am actually working through, so in the background, obviously my usual working day is to create products to sell through my online shop and to my wholesale stockists, but in the background of that I am also working to create my own portfolio of work that will hopefully be able to do things like that in the future. So I will say watch this space, and that's something that I would like to share more about in the future, but I'm at the very beginning stages of that. And it's a long process thing. But yes, a product that I would love to see my work on would be clothing, especially dresses that I could wear them. That would be amazing. So thank you so much for anybody who submitted a question. If you have other questions for me, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to rack up another list of questions to answer in the future. I really appreciate you being here and staying with me through this time. If you like seeing this and you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I always like to hear any videos or processes that you would like me to go through in more detail, and I will get videos done for them for you. So thanks so much again for watching today, guys. I really appreciate your time. Thanks. Bye.